everybody, Michelle McClunan here, astrologer and life navigator, and I'm bringing you an astrology update for the full moon, which is happening on the 29th of September at 6 degrees of the sign of Aries. So it's quite a fiery full moon, and many of us can feel it actually coming to its fullness. So as always, a full moon is always a time of release, letting go, culmination. So it's the stage of the moon cycle every month when things kind of come to a head, and then there's the opportunity to release. And it's quite interesting because I pulled a card out of a new deck, and the card that I got is letting go, which is quite interesting for a full moon. So just to give you a little bit of insight into this full moon, the sun at the moment is in Libra, which is a cardinal air sign, and the moon is in the sign of Aries, which is a cardinal fire sign. And there's quite a lot in Aries along with the moon. So we have the nodes of the moon, which are currently in an alignment, a tricky alignment with Pluto, which is really the destiny point. It's representing the transformation that is happening on so many levels for so many of us. The fact that our issues are coming to the surface so that they can be understood or cleared and worked through and healed. So it's like a sort of a group of planets. They're not completely right next to each other, but they're all in Aries. So you have the North Node in Aries right next to Eris, which is something that I don't speak about very often, but this time it's actually quite important. In Greek mythology, Eris was the goddess of discord and strife. She was kind of a very rebellious woman, and she got into quite a lot of arguments, and she wasn't particularly liked. So the energy at this time, with a lot of energy in Aries, although it can be very motivational to get things going, it can also be very confrontational, and there can be conflicts and discord around this time as well. So most of those conflicts and discord lie within us and then get projected outwards. But that is one of the themes of this full moon. So we always look at the opposite to see what's happening with the opposite. And in this case, the opposite is Libra. And the other thing which has a Libran feel is that the ruler of this full moon is Mars. The ruler of Aries is Mars. And then we look to see where Mars is, and Mars is in the sign of Libra. So what that does is it says, what is the balance point here, and how can you actually get to that balance? So the polarity of this full moon can actually be around going, doing, getting things going, moving forward, being very direct, kind of even self-obsessed, sort of, I need to do this, so get out the way, I'm going to do it. That's the Aries energy on the sort of the shadow side of Aries. And the Libran energy is very much more cooperative. Let's see the bigger picture. Let's look at everybody's point of view, and let's find the common ground. So that's the basic polarity. If you always we look in astrology, we look at the upside and the low side, or we look at the beneficial aspects of each planet and each sign, as well as the less beneficial. So the beneficial side of Aries is that it's a go-getter. So I often give the analogy of, if you look at the cardinal signs, if you can imagine Aries has arrived at a mountain and wants to get to the top of the mountain. The energy of Aries, this doesn't mean that every Aries is going to be like this. It depends on how much Aries everyone's got in their chart. But the Aries sort of archetype, the Aries energy, is to get to the bottom of the mountain, to quickly assess the mountain, and to go. Not to think too much. It's very impulsive. It's quite impetuous. It's driven. It's the leader. It's the pioneer. So that the Aries person will probably head his way up the mountain without a backward glance, because his aim is to get to the top of the mountain as fast as possible, and possibly beat everybody else, because it's a competitive sign. So there's no sort of backward looking or sideward looking or anything like that. There might be a bit of concern for others, but not a lot. That's the vision. That's what I need to do. I'm going straight up. When you look at Aries as opposite, which is Libra, If Libra was on the same mountain, Libra might be looking at the mountain and kind of thinking, is this the right mountain to climb? How are my relationships with the people around me on this mountain? Are they keen to climb the mountain? Is it the right time? Have we got the gear we need? Libra is quite concerned about the way we look, about beauty, harmony, peace. That would be the focus of Libra. So Libra would be taking in the beauty of the mountain, wanting to maybe stop every now and then and check on her fellow travelers, hikers, and would also get to the top of the mountain, but would do it in a kind of a more peaceful way. So if you look at those two dynamics and you look at what this is showing us, it is definitely a full moon that has a lot of energy in it. It's a super moon, which is bigger and more powerful. And it's the last super moon before the eclipse season. And whenever something gets to the eclipse season, things tend to get quite intense. So there's a lot of intense energy around without me going into too much astrology, because it can get a little bit confusing. But really the way I see this energy is it going to be war or peace? And we're seeing that in our world at the moment. There's a lot of war, there's a lot of revolution, there's a lot of people standing up and saying no. There's just a lot of seeming chaos in the outer world. And we can choose at any point whether to be part of that or not. We can also choose in relationships whether we're going to go to war or whether we're going to take the path of least resistance. And I think very often with this kind of energy, there can be a sense of being triggered and immediately it can be an explosive energy. Those explosive energies can very much be projections of what we're going through. So the lower vibration is that frustration can come out, anger can come out, impatience can come out, self-righteousness, dogmatism. All of those things can come out during this full moon. And the antidote to that would be to be able to listen, to be able to see the common ground, to be able to give the other person the benefit of the doubt. So this is a full moon which might very possibly have an effect on close relationships, on relationships with others. So I would say that it's a good one to actually step back. If you feel that you need to say something, see if you can just step back and just be quiet for a bit and sit with what the feeling is for you and what's going on for you before you project it, because it could be a little bit too confrontational if you do. So that's what I would suggest. On the sort of the upside of this full moon, it really does give us the opportunity to heal very old patterns by seeing them. So very often that sense of wanting to project something or wanting to criticize or wanting to blame somebody else for something is showing us what we need to see in ourselves. Because others are always a mirror of what's going on some level. Might not be obvious, but there's generally a mirror. So if I, for example, get upset with someone because they haven't done enough work, then I might want to turn the mirror on myself and say, where have I not done enough work? Or if you're looking at someone else and saying this person should be more caring or should be more kind or should be more considerate, it's a good idea to just turn the mirror on ourselves and say, where can I be more kind? Where can I be more considerate? And one of the tools that we use quite a lot with this is as soon as you find yourself projecting onto someone else, so-and-so is too angry or too inconsiderate, just add the 3 words, just like me. And what that does is it actually brings us into the awareness of our own journey and our own issues and our own projections. And then very often that doesn't need to then be addressed in that moment. It's definitely a full moon where pain bodies can come to the surface. And so it's really to step back. There isn't a lot of water around in terms of the other planets that are around this full moon. So I would say water is the compassionate, nurturing, softer element. So to spend some time, take some time out. Definitely take some time out to ground. If you're close to a water source, it might be a good idea to walk on the beach, soak your feet in the ocean. If you're not then, shower, allow the shower water to actually wash through you. Light a little oil burner, drink more water, because that'll actually bring the kind of fieriness of it a little bit down. The other thing we have is the planet Mercury, which is in the sign of Virgo, and it's actually opposite Neptune. And those two are caught up in a beautiful, what we call a kite. So what this sort of says to me is that where you have conflict, where you have these issues coming up, see if you can step back into your own awareness. And in doing so, you're actually able to transcend and heal the critical mind. So Mercury in Virgo can be quite critical, can want all his little ducks in a row, can want to organize everything, control everything. It wants to logically move forward step by step. And what this is saying is that it might not be possible to do that for whatever reason. Something can happen that's, unpredictable. I mean, in South Africa, in the Western Cape region, we've had enormous floods in this area, and some people have lost their houses, many people. It's unpredictable. Life is unpredictable. So how do we get through life? So it's to actually come back into our awareness and deal with what you can do in this moment and let go of the rest. This is what Neptune, which is opposite that Mercury in Virgo, is saying. When you can't do any more, let go. When you haven't got the ability to control the outcome, let it go. Maybe ask for help from guides, from your team, if you have a team, but let it go. You can't do something more than you're doing. And the card that I pulled is very specific to that. Just before I read that, in our Inner Space community this month, my partner John and I run a community called Inner Space, which is really a community where we help each other to come back to what is really true. We have a theme every month, a different theme that is linked to the astrology of the month. And we have journal questions, we have a creative exercise, we have affirmations, and we have 2 Zoom calls, coaching Zoom calls a month for the group, where we cover a lot of ground. And it really gives a sense of belonging, and it gives a sense of support in these very difficult times that we're going through. Because the old is disappearing, I've said many times, and the new hasn't been reborn yet. And many of us are feeling that the old way of doing things just doesn't work anymore. So as much as we try to do it the old way, maybe we try to control things, the more we try to control things, the more stressful it becomes. The more we try to make everything work the way we think it should work, the more stressful it becomes. So these are times where we're actually shifting our focus, shifting our awareness, and coming back to what is more real, and that will get us through the challenges that we have to deal with. So, having said that, if you'd like to join Inner Space, you can join for the month of October. In October, we're going to be looking at the theme mirrors, which is really what I'm talking about here, because this is the theme for the month. So mirrors and our projections and our relationships, which is a big subject. So it's going to be a really good month. The card that I drew is Letting Go, and it's out the pack, The Wisdom of Oracle cards by Colette Baron Reed. And it's a beautiful picture of a waterfall. And what it says, it's very accurate to what we're going through, being a full moon, releasing attachments, expectations, and desires yet unfulfilled. These are some of the aspects of this card. When you receive this marker, you're required to relinquish control and allow the mystery to act as she will, to weave life together as it's meant to be, according to the laws of the cosmos. You cannot force something to come or to remain if its true place is elsewhere. Remember that what is yours can never be taken away. Allowing is the key to this marker, for what is yours will come to you. The same applies to the past. This is the time to let go, release old hurts, resentments, unresolved anger could come up this full moon, for they are no longer welcome burdens on the path ahead, or useful ones old and outmoded ideas about life, how you see others, who you are, based on who you were, they must also be left behind. Then you can move forward, unencumbered, stepping into the magic of the new present that leads into the best possible future. So it's very, very accurate in terms of Aries. This is a time where, at a full moon in Aries, where we do ask, who am I? And it goes beyond the little self. It goes to the big self. It goes to who am I, beyond the roles, the achievements, the busyness, the plans, the relationships. Who am I? And so that's a really big question. And also, how do I want to show up in the world? Do I want to show up in the world as a fighter? Or do I want to show up in the world as a peacemaker? Because we have a choice in each moment, whether we're going to go to war or whether we're going to stay in peace. And sometimes it's necessary to, confront something, but you can do it in a peaceful way. You don't have to do it in a warring way. And sometimes it's better to walk away or to stand back until the fire has died down. So I think that if we hold a steady center point, which is shown to us by Mars in Libra is expressing in a peace-loving way. So if we can hold the scale, so we can sit in the middle of the scale and allow everything to be going on around us, but hold our center, hold our sense of peace in the very chaotic world that we live in, then we can actually get through and we can create beautiful new visions with this, because it's got the energy to actually move forward and create that vision and to be part of the vision and to hold something beautiful and to move towards it with enthusiasm and interest and curiosity, but not to be too attached to the outcome, just to move forward step by step, one moment by one moment by one moment. So I hope you enjoyed the update. I'll be back in 2 weeks' time to talk about the eclipse, which is coming up. And until then, stay well. If you would like to book a reading, I am available for readings, so you can find my details in the link below. And if you like the video, please click the notification button and the subscribe button. It helps to get the word out. Thanks so much for listening, and have a good, peaceful full moon.